Yeah, hello, welcome guys. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. I'm here to explain you how web really works. Before starting into developing a website, we need to know something. Yeah, hello, welcome guys. Before we start something to do. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. So I'm here to explain you how our web really works. Different modules. And before starting into developing a website, we need to know something. Yeah, hello, welcome guys. Before we start something to do. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. So I'm here to explain you how our web really works. Different modules. And before starting into developing a website, we need to know something. Yeah, hello, welcome guys. Before we start something to do. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. So I'm here to explain you how our web really works. Different modules. And before starting into developing a website, we need to know something. Yeah, hello, welcome guys. Before we start something to do. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. So I'm here to explain you how our web really works. Different modules. And before starting into developing a website, we need to know something. Yeah, hello, welcome guys. Before we start something to do. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. So I'm here to explain you how our web really works. Different modules. And before starting into developing a website, we need to know something. Yeah, hello, welcome guys. Before we start something to do. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. So I'm here to explain you how our web really works. Different modules. And before starting into developing a website, we need to know something. Yeah, hello, welcome guys. Before we start something to do. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. So I'm here to explain you how our web really works. Different modules. And before starting into developing a website, we need to know something. Yeah, hello, welcome guys. Before we start something to do. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. So I'm here to explain you how our web really works. Different modules. And before starting into developing a website, we need to know something. Yeah, hello, welcome guys. Before we start something to do. And this is a DSC event web development session 1. And I'm Hemaprakash. So I'm here to explain you how our web really works. Different modules. Hello, am I audible? Hello, now it's audible? Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. So now let's start from the beginning. So what's a browser? As per Wikipedia, browser is a tool to communicate with the servers that gives you data from the World Wide Web. And then we have these components that build up a browser, basically the UI, the user interface, which consists of an address bar, the container which loads the entire page, and then you have menu bar, title bar, and so on. And we have two types of engines, that is a browser engine and a render engine. Basically, the browser engine gives you a correct format of data to be displayed, and the render engine usually loads the script for you and displays the styles and other things in your web browser. And we also have a interesting thing in the browser called a real-time JS interpreter. You just need a browser to access it. Basically, this is a JavaScript interpreter where you can have some fun, like 2 plus 2. It executes all JavaScript here. You can get the current date string. So we can do whatever we want in this interpreter. Let's not go deep into it. So what is then the last one? Data. This is the very important thing in a browser, where whatever you see comes from this. Basically, the data comes from a server or a file in your local system. That data is being processed and show up in a browser. So the data is mostly made up of HTML contents for websites and web pages. And let's see about the components. When we type google.com in a browser, you usually see a Google homepage, that's it. But there's been a series of process and many process going on. Like the first process is it gets the data. So data is very important for us. So it gets the data from a server. Mostly the data will be of HTML content, tags, and scripts. And these data will be usually be in a type of string. Everything will be in a string, and there will be millions of lines of strings coming from the server to your browser as a string. And then Next, the browser's job is to parse these data. Usually I said HTML content. So there are thousands and thousands of HTML tags present in the browser. So it needs to identify and recognize the correct type of tags represents the correct type of elements. So it passes each and every HTML it receives in the response. And this is the basic HTML body tag. It passes it. And then the next step of the browser is to create a DOM tree. DOM. DOM is basically known as document object model. This was developed by W3 organization. It is a programming API for HTML. It is defines the logical structure of a document and a way it is to be accessed. So basically a DOM tree would look like this. We have the HTML and we have the head tag and we have the body tag. It will be mostly in nested elements, one nested inside another. So the body will contain another element. So this div will contain another div. So this keeps go on. This is known as a DOM tree. This is known as an entire DOM tree of a website. This is small thing. We have huge and huge of nested trees over here. And after this DOM tree is generated, and next step of the browser is to give you some visibility or order of elements to be arranged. So there comes the render tree. This is basically a step where your styles and animations and more scripts like JavaScripts and tons of scripts loaded behind the website. For example, uh, in Google you have your profile page and you have this button. So you don't see anything like logout, add or account. So in the DOM tree there will be a div which says switch accounts, logout, and you can't see it because it's present in the DOM tree but not in the render tree. So the styles may be set into none. So whenever you click this arrow button, you get to see this dialog. So this happens only on the render tree, whether to show a component or not. The basic example is displaying objects. And the next step is, the important step is the layout. Here after creating a render tree, it locates the element in your browser because we have different sizes of windows like mobile, tablet, and different kinds of desktop sizes. So it needs to plot the elements in different devices. So it may be uh, x or y coordinates from a point, or you can simply specify width and height. For example, 100 pixels into 100 pixels. And this positions the element in a correct order and where it need to be placed. And then finally the browser, you get the website uh, as you get the Facebook, Google, Amazon, any other type of websites. And now let's move on to DNS. What do you mean by DNS? A DNS is a domain name system. I practically compare a DNS to a phone book in your mobile. Before that, www.google.com. This is a domain name. This is a domain name where files are stored in a different way. Let's first see that. In internet, computers are connected to each other in a network, and they have a unique address called an IP address. IP is an internet protocol. So here the small blocks are the small computers. Sorry for the drawing. And in India, there may be some network which has connected computers, and you want to see a website of present in the USA. So here the data travels from this IP address from here to there and here to there. So we have more routes and more computers in between. So these IP addresses help them to go to correct address. So just like your resident address. So this is the DNS record where it is just like a phone book present in your mobile, where this is the IP address and this is the domain name. Like this is your mobile number and this is your contact name. You can't remember so much bunch of 300 to 400 numbers, right? So in the same way, it contains billions of websites in the internet. So the DNS take care of it. So whenever you type google.com, it comes into the DNS record and check for its name. And when the matching record arrives, it just gives you this IP address to the browser, and the browser loads. For example, instead of uh, google.com, I'll just type in 17. I'll just type in 172.217.11.174, and that's it. We get google.com automatically. That that happens just because of this DNS record, which contains this name. So this happens whenever you type in a domain. For example, Facebook has its own IP address and Amazon has its own IP address. So that's it more about DNS, and let's move on to the next. How Google search gives you the correct result and only get what you want. For example, for example, I type in pizza. So Google just gives me the pizza shops near me and not a pizza shop located in Kerala, right? So this happens. There may be results, but we got more than 1 billion results in this page. But it shows us the first result, the pizza is near us. So it takes up the internet address and usually suggests some high rating shops in your browser. How? So there may be several checkings, and Google usually check for scams. So whatever you type and whatever information that you needed is only shown to you, and the rest is hidden. And then we all know google.com, which is our biggest and most widely used popular search engine in the internet. And we just type in google.com and it just shows the home page with a search bar where you can search anything that is not restricted to anything. You can search anything around the world with just your small smartphone, right? So how does that work? Basically, let's take an example of my home. I have a computer. This is my computer, and this is my modem. When I type google.com, it first goes into the data first travels to my modem and then reaches my local SP. Here my local SP is BSNL, and my local ISP. ISP is basically an internet service provider, and then it then sends to a global ISP located in somewhere around the world, which gets to the nearer and the nearest Google data center where the Google website is contained, and it returns back to your computer, uh, not basically the same path, but through a path it is already defined. So now let's see how the data comes. When you type in google.com, this is the response you get from the nearest ISP, and there are thousands of lines of code for the home page. This is what you get. This spaceless strings of data you get, as I said, in the browser part. So this data you get, so you can see the HTML tags here. So you not only send just the google.com, you send much more things to a server. Let's talk that about in the next part. And this is what you get. So you can preview you get the search bar, and you get all the things. So basically, what's a client or a server? Basically, both are the same things. uh, I mean, both are computers, just computers connected to a network. Here one or more clients connected to a single server, where server contains the files. I practically combine sorry I practically client server model to a the waiter at the restaurant. Like, you order food to the waiter, he go and gets it from the dining room, and you are the client here, and the server is the dining room, and the browser is going to be your waiter. You order things like google.com, he goes and gets it from the correct server and returns you the page. And basically client server communicate using request and response. The client requests the server for google.com, it goes for the server and it processes the data, checks the data file is found. If found, it responds to the client in a way of I said already, it response will be mostly in HTML content, which is mostly 1,000 lines of codes that contains HTML tags and scripts that need to build up a website. So you get these content into your browser, and the browser does its job. So basically, a browser not only sends your request, I mean, it not only sends whatever you type like google.com, it also sends much more details like the URL you send, the method types, the status code, uh, method types, the path, the protocol, what type of data it should accept, some cookies, and what type of browser you use, and any other query or parameters you give. So this will be the response. When you give the request, you receive the response. All these steps are done in a matter of seconds, just in a blink of your eyes you get the website, right? So let's see about the HTTP methods. We have a post method, which is used to insert a data, and get method is usually to get data. Basically, when you type in google.com, you get some website, so it uses get method. We use put method to update data into the server, and use delete method to delete it. We also have another method called patch, and these are the methods to be used while you develop a website or a server. So when you fill up a form, basically it's a post method, and there are also some codes that are used when a browser communicates. Example, status codes. We usually have to see like error 404. Basically a status code for a file not found. When you request a file and the file is not present in a respective servers or a storage, it returns you 404, that the browser detects it, file not found. And we also have 200, which is basically a success request, and we have more number of status codes, and let's not go deeper into it. So that's it about the client server. So mostly, so if this is your question, I want to develop or build a website. So basically, the roadmap to do it is, so first you learn some HTML tags, the basic tags mostly used to build websites. So you first learn all those tags, and then you come to some basic styles. I mean, used to display it in a correct order or in a beautiful manner. Usually we use CSS, and we also have much more like CSS less. So first you learn CSS, and in the third step you learn the positioning of elements using the CSS, and then you can learn JavaScript. So JavaScript is a scripting language, most popular language in a web developer. Most web developers use JavaScript to develop websites. It is used to interact each and every element in the website. For example, you click a button, it takes you somewhere, shows you something. That job is done by JavaScript. So first learn the basic JavaScripts that I use to build a website, and then go for advanced JavaScript, where you learn to build servers, and the most popular one is a Node.js, a JavaScript runtime, and we have ES6 modules. And most advanced JavaScript contains of arrays and modules and more simplified functions, and you also have an arrow function. And then after completing these, you can go for frameworks. So we have more frameworks. There are tons of frameworks that is built using JavaScript. For example, Vue.js, most developers use, and React, Angular, which is developed by Google, and React, which is developed by Facebook. And you can go for other frameworks. So now we came to an end of the session. So let's start to build up a small login website for this session. You can use many text editors, like popular text editors like VS Code and Sublime, Atom. So you can even develop a website using Notepad. Just go into the Notepad, so start typing your HTML tags. These tags and CSS styles will be explained in more in detail in the next session tomorrow. Don't forget to see that. So as I already told, there are tons of HTML tags present. So one of which is the title. So I make the title as DSC session 1. So the entire body will be inside this body tag. So now I'm going to have a div element, and then we can have an image tag. We can also add images into it, and it has most basically HTML tag has more number of attributes. One is the height. I'm gonna give 100 pixels, and then I'm gonna have a small form, and the input you give, I'll keep this as email. Placeholder is just a hint you give to the user who uses your website. So I keep here the same thing repeats, right? So just you have to change the type to password so that it's not visible to the user, and you're changing the name. And then you type password, and then at the end you're gonna have a button, right? So you can give submit, so it is a type. So submit button doesn't have a placeholder because it's a button, so you can give a value. So here I given login. So that's it about the HTML content. Now let's add some styles. So basically you can add styles in different ways. You can specify the element name. I'm going to make the whatever I type down here, I'm going to make the contents to display in a center. So I use flex display. I give it center, align all items center, and then for the form and the input, for the type submit, I'm going to have different styles for the button. For example, background blue and the color white. Here the background is the button's background and the text color is the color white. And you can also have some spacing inside it, like padding, and you can have all the other inputs the same style if you don't want to type in again and again. So I give padding. So again I give width to be 400. So I'm gonna add this image which I already have here. So a step is to save this file. Login.html is the extension. So once you save it, you can see the contents here. Let's add some more styles to it. So I have given here flex, so we need to define it, the direction of the contents to be displayed. So it is now row. Now I have changed it to column, and let's see the change. You can see the change, it's column. So if you want to center the contents vertically, you have to specify the height here, like I specify 100 VH. So need to specify width. And now it's align all the text inside the form to center. And you can also use break tags like this. And you can give a width to the button. like in this is a basic login page. So now you can see, you can't see the password I have given, type password. For the email, you can also have attributes like required. So now without typing in the email address, without typing it, when I do, it prompts me to fill out the field. So this is basically attribute of HTML. So that's it, simple website using a notepad. And this same thing will be continued by the next session tomorrow. You can see the details of the next session in the DSC official website. Thanks for watching.